Interesting. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Galimera, Galispera, Galinichta. For those who keep DMing me and asking me, what the bloody hell do you say at the beginning of the show? There's your translation. It is another live edition of the Highbury Squad. It's a new week. It's a blank canvas. Is the quadruple on? Let's rock and roll.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is... Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
I don't know what is going on. I'm on location. Here we go. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. Bunged up in.
You've got off.
Okay, here we are. I don't know what's happening, Super Kev. I'm on location, and I know you guys can hear me. I have no idea. So basically, if I get kicked off, at least you got Lee and Super Kev. Back in the house, my podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell.
Squaddies, good to see you. And you know, we've got plenty to cover today. So let's go. At ease, Squaddies.
Well, that was a really rough entry. Haven't had one of those in a couple of years, but here we are with our very special guest this evening. Maybe it's his fault because he does cause trouble wherever he goes, doesn't he? Welcome back to Squad Central, Mr. Lee Judges.
Oh, thank you very much, So. Thank you very much. Listen, before I start, I have got to say, right, I have got to say this. Last week's podcast with Nick Ramsdale, wow, that is what this podcasting world and is all about for people watching it and getting involved in it. That was absolute gold. And it was such a, I can't explain how good that was. You know what I mean? Honest opinions, honest whatever. It was just fantastic. So well done. Big yourself up for that.
Yeah,
so
I agree. And the insights, Lee, wasn't it? The insight that you got.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And he's an absolute gem of a human. I know you both adore him, and he'll be popping into Squad Central a little bit this coming season. So we feel very lucky to have him. And listen, let's get stuck into this before I lose you completely. Super Kev, I love how salty everyone is. Oh, I do love a little salt with my fish and chips. In fact, sometimes I just have the salt and I leave the chips and the fish to the side. The universe is rocked again because the Arsenal Football Club beat Manchester City in the Community Shield. As we used to know it back in the day, our Charity Shield. Something we've won quite a bit. I don't care what anyone says. I think it's a massive win mentally. But first, I'm going to get both of your opinions on the game. Super Kev, I'll start with you. A very close game. If you look at the stats, possession-wise, passing-wise, shots-wise, we were very, very close. And want your assessment in terms of what you saw at Wembley.
Look, first and foremost, I want to say it was the first 20, 25 minutes, it was a feel-out game for us. It was a keep ball session for them. The way we approached it, we were trying to get them into a press, trying to constrict them. But they're such good players. Everything's been thrown at them. They can move their way out. Defensively, we were sound. And then I think from about half an hour to the end of the half, we really come into it. We started to get a feel for it. Started to get Ben White up on the outside, and he created the first chance, didn't he, when he got inside Akanji and set Havertz up, etc. So we dominated the last 15 minutes of the half. And look, second half, they changes, they improved, and we hung on in the game. That was the key. We hung on in the game. They brought on players like, look, they're bringing on De Bruyne and Phil Foden, etc. So they're gonna create some bits and pieces. We defended properly. We needed 2 great saves from Ramsdale. Let's be honest, after going a goal down, he produced 2 great saves to keep us in it. But just like anything, we made some changes. I thought Eddie come on and started stretching the pitch nicely. I thought he'd done all right when he come on. And you know what? I think people are sleeping on Trossard this season already. He's been our star man, one of the star men in pre-season. But I just think he's a wonderful footballer. And wherever we play him, I think he's the one who could really make a difference to this Arsenal side. Is Trossard. Because last season he had assists, he had a few goals, but I think he's a double-digit goal man. And we've got to get him on into double digits. We peg him back with we get lucky. But if you don't press and you don't push, we don't get lucky. We get lucky, and then the penalties, we win the penalties. And you know what? A lot of people talk about it's a nothing trophy. BS! That's BS. It means something to Arsenal. You see Pep, they were giving it. Listen, I was working for Man City FC TV yesterday. Let me tell you now, it meant a lot to them when they went 1-0 up, let me tell you. Because as we all know, if you're on top, you want to break the neck of your opponent. You don't want to give them anything. You don't want to give them a grain of rice to let them think that they're catching you up. Arsenal came back, Arsenal won it, and the studio was pretty quiet after Arsenal won it yesterday because they know with the additions we've got, and there's still room in the window to get a few more, they know Arsenal are real. So well done, Arsenal. Well done, manager, for changing the squad, adding to the squad the way you have, and now you've got another Wembley win over Man City. Fantastic.
Lee, you were there yesterday. I know we were talking a little bit in our WhatsApp group about how we didn't believe that we've seen the starting 11 yet. You were there. What did you see? What was your takeaway of the match?
That was the first thing. I was pleased with the team lineup. I think that's the team that they're going to go for next week. I think that all the chopping and changing in pre-season, that was it. I thought it was a really, really good game of football. Two very, very good teams going at it. I agree with Kevin. I thought first 20 minutes, probably them, that they was on top. But I think our Arsenal feeling them out. And then I think for the next 20 minutes, we went at them. They defended it well. But I felt that we opened them up on a couple of occasions where where they didn't do it to us. Second half, much the same. And then they get a fantastic goal. I think a bit sloppy playing midfield, and then a mistake just after we brought the subs on as it happens. And then you just think, well, they're just maybe just getting into the game. And I turned around to my mate and I said, I'm fed up. We're turning around and saying, God, we've played really well against City, but we've lost, or we've played really well, competed with them and lost. Just as I said that, the old ball crawled into the old lovely. And the place went mad. And then from then on, I felt we was going to win on penalties. I don't know why, but I think it was more important for Arsenal to win that game than Man City. I think we needed just to get a little bit of confidence getting into them. Yes, we didn't beat them, but we didn't lose to them, And something about Wembley, I don't know about it. We got a fantastic record there. And I just love going to the place, and it's just wonderful, wonderful atmosphere. That the fans yesterday, again, I have to say, I do believe it now that we have got the best fans in the world. I think that they just show up. I had some Man City fans. I had a little bit of laugh with me fan came yesterday, like saying they're like Wigan as far as fans are concerned and all that. Just a little bit of a joke and a thing like that. But they come back at me saying, "Oh well, if it was in Manchester, would you go?" Yes. Arsenal would have packed whatever stadium, whether it been in Manchester or Newcastle or whatever for that game, because that is just Arsenal fans that you know, can't get enough of it. And I thought we was fantastic, the fans and the players. I'm going to say this now. Out of all the players, I mean, Timber really impressed me every time I see him. It looks like he can play anywhere. Declan Rice certainly getting. Yeah, I think he was superb, Kev. Like, you know, Declan Rice getting there. You can see he's not quite there yet, but he's getting there. And I agree with Trossard. What was the great thing, I think, from Arsenal's point of view, and for me yesterday more than anything, was that the substitutions made a difference. Trossard done really well. Eddie come on. And as Kevin said, he stretched it, and there was a couple of times the ball went down the channels. Good control, set us up for a couple of. It was his, I think, run that set us up for the corner, which led to the goal. And then, you know, I think Tierney getting minutes as well, and also Smith Rowe seems to be getting minutes as well. Yeah. So I think it was all round a very good thing. We've got to build on that now. Though. It's going to be a different game against Forest where we're going to have a lot of the possession. We can't give it up there. But I'm now convinced that Arsenal would have won the league if Saliba would have stayed fit. You know, he was awesome.
He's unbelievable, mate.
It's not just his defending, Kev. It's when he's on the ball, he sets things up, and he just gives us that little bit of control at the back. We missed so much last season.
We lacked, didn't we? Yeah, we lacked.
Yeah, 100%.
He is such a special player, and I'm glad Lee Judges read my mind there, because I was going to move to Saliba and chat about that just a little bit. When you see other fans and pundits salivate over a player, people salivate over Saliba. Of course, people salivate over Saka and Martinelli, and we've got all these young starlets, and we've been really great with our young players coming through, and but this is a player that everyone salivates over, Super Kev. And, you know, a lot of the times people think that we make excuses. Oh, if we had Saliba, you know, I think we would have won the league. But there are players who are so important that they do make that difference, right? And look, I'm not comparing right now, but this is the best example I can give everyone in terms of what's popping into my head. What Messi's doing here right now is unbelievable, okay? Inter Miami were the most garbage football team in MLS. And what he has done, and one additional player, but he is incredible. One player can make a massive difference. Look what Van Dijk did for Liverpool. Everyone laughed at them when they spent $72 million and they were like, oh, guy came from Celtic and wherever. Super Kev, the importance of Saliba, how is he going to be protected this season? How do you handle him? Of course, you're going to say play every game, but he's so important. We've got Champions League, we've got the domestic cups. How do we deal with not losing this guy?
Well, the great thing, Soph, is we've got a lot more of a depth in the squad now. I mean, Lee mentioned Timber. Timber plays right back, left back, centre half. He could even do a bit in midfield if you put him there because he's so comfortable on the ball. You can play him. What we've got to do is we've got to use our mentality a little bit like what Man City do. They don't play all their players, the top players, every game. They take them out, they put them on the bench, they rest them, they manage their minutes early in the season as well. They let everybody get game time. And then when it flips over around Christmas time, that's when they start ramping it up and playing their best team. So the wear and tear on the body isn't as much, because I tell you this much: if we'd have had more depth at centre half last season, maybe Saliba wouldn't get injured at the end, because it was his first Premier League full campaign. And that's maybe what he's a young lad. And I know we played in France, but the Premiership and France is different. The demands are different. And we might have got over the line. I just believe we're more equipped now than ever when you look at the defenders we've got, etc., that we're going to have to wrap them in a bit of cotton wool sometimes, like we talk about Saka, like we talk about Martinelli at times. Rest them. Sometimes if there's a Champions League game on the Wednesday, he plays in the Champions League game on the Wednesday. If it ain't a massive game on the Saturday and it's at the Emirates, we could put somebody else in there if need be. You know, sometimes we just have to box clever with him, I believe.
Lee, we know that Mikel loves a tight squad. We know that he gets very kind of intent on his starting 11. Is it going to be also a case of him managing himself as a coach, like learning? We've seen him progress and evolve and elevate. Is this something that he's going to have to work to manage this season with Champions League football? And to the end of that, has Saliba become our most important player?
That's a good point. This is the problem that Mikel has got to face. I think last season, probably like the last couple of seasons, he's been managing a team, not a squad, but he's got a squad to manage now because of the Champions League. It's as simple as that. Didn't really manage it that great last season because when I look back at the Europa League, he'd made lots of changes and it was sort of two teams, and it didn't work in the Europa League. We didn't play well in the group stages and then got knocked out early. So it's a different game now. But I think with the players you've got now, if you're saying to a player, well, I'm resting you in the league game to play for the Europa League, well, I'm not so sure about that. But all of a sudden, well, I'm resting you because we've got Champions League, we've got Bayern Munich or Real Madrid on Tuesday or Wednesday. I think players are going to buy into that a little bit more and go, yeah, I get around that. So, and the thing is, I think that you need to put in performances, because maybe it ain't the manager's got to maybe rest and take it out there, but look at Ramsdale yesterday. Look at his performance. Knows another goalkeeper's coming in. Did he put in a performance yesterday to say, look, hold on a minute, I'm number one here, making myself
number one here.
Yeah. I'm number one. It did seem that to me. So then the manager's then got to manage what the workload of the players. And I think that's what Kevin says is something that Pep does fantastically well. If you have a look at it, there was games last season, I'm scratching my head and thinking, why ain't De Bruyne playing? But when it mattered at the back end of the season, De Bruyne is playing every game. And I think with Saliba, I do think he is very, very key. I looked at him yesterday, not just because he pocketed Haaland, you know what I mean? Like he's done that on another occasion. I seem to remember in the league, I think it was the FA Cup, he came on the second half and kept him quiet. What I see yesterday, there was a time when the ball was running down with Haaland, and what he'd done, there was no panic. I remember last season, do you remember when the ball went out to Holding? I'm not having a go at Holding when he done it. He just kicked the ball out. When Haaland's bearing down and he don't care, he just says, all right, okay, I'll slot it in here and just have that confidence. And it just gives everybody that little bit of confidence. No one's panicking, no one's making silly, rash decisions. I just think he's a Rolls Royce of a player. I don't think, honestly, that Gabriel gets the praise that he deserves, because I think all at long last now, we've got a number one and a number two central defence. We haven't had that for a very, very long while as centre halves. I think we've always had number two central defenders. Now we've got a number one and a number two. And that's nothing against Gabriel. I think he's fantastic, So I really do think that he is very, very important to the team. I also think that, you look at Ben White yesterday, he goes under the radar. First minute header, I think it was the first couple of minutes. If he doesn't win that header, we're a goal down, 6 yards out. They go 1-0 up, different game. He wins that. I think he tired towards the end of last season as well, So, he needs to be managed well. And I think that is the key for me now, is how Mikel does this, But when you've got the likes of Timber coming into the side, or you've got the likes of Ben White playing right back, or don't forget Zinchenko weren't playing yesterday, the calibre of player is a lot more easier to leave out and bring in now. We're gonna the gap of player being left out for the player coming in is jumped, and that's what I see yesterday. Look, I was just talking to my friend going today. You look at our bench yesterday. I think it was stronger than Manchester City's. You know what I mean? There's no fillers there no more. That was the point. That was a great point he used. There's no fillers in our bench no more, where there have been in the last couple of years. They're all tried, tested, all good enough to play in the first team. And that's where we are now. And that is, fantastic, because I tell you what, credit to Ed and Arteta, they've done it and it's jumped up on us a lot quicker than I thought it would.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, move to the forward line, I want to wrap up with something here with Super Kev on that back line too. And by the way, you guys, thanks so much for listening. Apologies for not being able to put up your comments on screen this evening. We are seeing every single one of them. 400 of you in live chat right now. Please do hit that like button. I'm in the middle of the mountains and my internet connection is a bit loose. So I'd rather stick with what I've got here. Make sure we get through the broadcast so you can hear these two legends talk about your beloved Arsenal Football Club. Super Kev, does the back five, including Rambo, right itself currently?
No.
Is it okay?
No. And you know what? It's a good thing it doesn't, because depending on the opposition, I think what Mikel Arteta's done, depending on the opposition, he gets the opportunity to pick the right combination for the back line. Because I tell you why. There's going to be times where at the Emirates, Zinchenko is going to be the best one to play left back. Why? Because we're going to have so much more possession than the opposition. We need Zinchenko in there to make the difference. Then maybe even further forward, you can make it. Havertz could play that attacking midfielder. Then maybe you could rest Thomas Partey. Declan Rice could play as the sixth, depending on who we play. Against the top teams, as you saw yesterday, Thomas Partey and Declan Rice have to play. They have to play. And by the way,
together.
Against the top teams. And by the way, if Thomas Partey hadn't been booked in the first half, there's no way Phil Foden would have rolled him and been able to run all that way. He would have taken him out. He would have took the book in there. That's for sure. But because he was booked, he couldn't take him down because that referee would have probably sent him off. But again, so I still think there's times where we're going to have to rest Saliba. We're going to have to rest Gabriel. Are there players who can take their spot? Yes, there are now. So if we're going to be controlling the ball in certain games, we can afford to leave Saliba. We can afford to rest Gabriel because there's a big Champions League game coming in midweek.
So, Lee, one of the biggest pickles, I think, for Arsenal fans, I'm not even sure if it's a pickle, but one of the things that they want to make sure that happens quick, fast, once the Premier League kicks in, is that Kai Havertz gets off to a good start. I think it's easy to criticize him if he misses a chance. One of the things Kev and I talked about when he first signed is that people don't really see don't really give him enough credit for what he does off the ball. And we were comparing him a little bit to Gabriel Jesus when he came in, and the ability that he had to be able to do the things that Mikel wanted him to do, to play that position the way he did, and how it galvanized the team. And it was an infectious kind of addition, because you saw Martinelli improve, Saka improve, everyone was improving off the ball. Super Kev said about 18 months ago, we are rubbish off the ball. You know, we really need to work on who we are as a team off the ball. Jack Stevenson, our very good mate, called into TalkSport actually yesterday to credit Kai Havertz, because he was getting a few pelters about missing his chances. And he was at Wembley. You were there too, Lee. Talk to me a little bit about Kai Havertz, what he offered in this particular game, and if you agree that he is good off the ball and he deserves a little bit more credit for that.
Do you know what, Sophie? I'll say this now, and I don't care if I get any heat for it. If he'd have took his chance yesterday and scored his goal, he'd have been man of the match. I thought what he played, I really enjoyed his performance yesterday. He's up against quality players. Let's get that right. Quality defenders. He didn't bully them, but he got to give as good as what he got. I thought there at times his hold up play and bringing other players into it was good, considering the defence that he was up against. I thought that he was a constant threat. I think not just with his floor in the air as well. He won his a fair share of headers and everything like that. And the most important thing I'm going to say, that I felt that he worked really hard for the team. Really, I don't know if that come across on the TV or whatever. I don't know, but what I see of him, I thought he played really, really well. I'm going to say it now. I am desperate for this guy for it to work for him. Like,
Me too, Lee.
Desperate, like, for him to score. If you say to me, who do I want to score on Saturday, I'm going Havertz. Every time now, I want him to score the goals. You know what I mean? Because I thought he was unlucky with his chances. Goalkeeper forced the goalkeeper to make a save. Probably the second one, probably should have done a little bit better with. But I thought he done really, really well. I thought he brought in players. I thought on the break we looked a lot more dangerous. I think that it was I think even Mikel, maybe he might not play in that position come for us because we'll have a lot more of the ball. I think that he played in that position because he knew that we weren't going to get so much of the ball. So when he did get the ball, he had to be careful with it and look after it. I think he done it really, really well, and I just think that I don't know what it is with Arsenal. There always seems to be an agenda with a player. I don't know if you go back 4 years, you know what I mean? And it looks like it's he's going to be the one. If he plays well, that's what you expect for that sort of money. If he don't play well, he's going to get it.
Yeah.
I think look at what in America. He got pelters for a silly skills challenge. You know what I mean? Like, really ridiculous. You know what I mean? The next day when the ball comes across, bang, straight in the back of the net. Oh well, that's only against the All Stars. You know what I mean? Like, he just couldn't win. You know what I mean? So no, I'm going to back him. I was very, very impressed with him yesterday. That's his best game, by the way, and he played very, very well against Barcelona as well when he played on the left-hand side. I think that, the one thing that's going to get him criticism, I think he's got that little bit of demeanour where he's
the Ozil demeanour.
Yeah, where he just looks like he's a bit lazy and he don't care.
But he grafts, Lee.
He grafts. Yeah, I watched it yesterday. He grafts. Yeah, I just think it's his demeanour, and I don't think that's fair. You know what I mean? If I'll be honest.
Okay,
but,
so
2 weeks time, I might be slagging him off, but he's got my backing at the moment because I think he's done very, very well so far.
I'll play this back to you if that is the case, Mr. Judges. I will remind you. Super Kev, wrapping up the midfield just a little bit here. Declan Rice, who I think a little bit like Jack Grealish, 100 million. Everyone expects him to save the world, kill the asteroids, defend the galaxy from the scum of the universe and just be the hero every single time. And there's going to be pressure because Declan Rice is a world record signing. And so it comes with the turf. I think he looks so happy. It's ridiculous how happy this guy looks playing for the Arsenal. By the way, he must listen to this show all the time, or to Lee, because he says the Arsenal every single time he posts something. It's the Arsenal. He's ingrained himself already in the history and the culture. You just love to see it. Once again, great DNA profile of a player coming in. There's a clip that's going around, of course, of him tracking back and making that tackle and then, making a safe pass to the back line. What's your take so far on Declan, the role he's playing? I think did he play 3 different positions yesterday, Kev? I'm not sure, but he can play multiple positions. Where is he going to finally land? Or are we going to see more of a hybrid Declan at the Arsenal?
Yeah, I think it's a hybrid for now, until he learns the system fully. There were times yesterday where you saw him in the left back spot.
Yeah.
To progress the ball. But not only can he progress the ball from there, which is another crease which is going to work for us, he's then got the legs to shift up the pitch. Sharpish. And this is something we haven't seen against City for a long time. City on the attack and somebody gets back and doesn't have to tackle on the floor. He's got the legs to get back and take the ball off somebody's toe and then get us moving again. So it was really important to get those legs in there with Thomas Partey because, we've always said Thomas Partey in there on his own, it's a lot of work for him. Granit Xhaka was great last season, but he doesn't have the biggest engine. He's committed, but he doesn't have the biggest engine. This guy's got an engine to burn. So I just think the more he learns the system, the more he understands his new teammates, this guy's only going to get better and better and better. Look, he's there for the long haul. He's woven himself into the Arsenal fabric already. And do you know what? First game against Manchester City and we come out victorious. That's a good sign because he's only going to get better.
I agree. And even, I know he just won the European Conference with West Ham, but to come in right away, and like Mikel said, and Kev will tell you, I don't need to tell you, Super Kev will tell you, you know, the Charity Shield, I've always enjoyed that game. Why? Because it feels like Christmas Eve, doesn't it, guys? It's like, you know, the season, the new season starting, all the Christmas gifts and maybe the rubbish ones that are to come. It's all ahead of you, the roller coaster ride. And I've always loved it, and I've loved winning it. But the difference is, Lee, here is it's not about the trophy we won. That's not what Arsenal fans are talking about here. It is the fact that we overcame a mental hurdle against the greatest team, supposedly, that we've ever seen in the Premier League, coming off winning a treble, one of the greatest goal-scoring seasons of all time, you know, and mentally that's massive. And I was saying on TalkSport yesterday with my conversation with Paul Ross, when Odegaard held that trophy aloft and everyone was looking, there's no doubt in my mind that they're all saying, my God, can you imagine what it must feel like to lift a Premier League, to lift a Champions League? Just to see Odegaard lift something, it lifted me as a fan. How important was that win for those reasons to you, Lee, as a fan going into this season?
The trophy don't mean that, you know, when we won the trophy, I'm not like going mad about it and everything like that. You know, obviously I stayed there to watch it and all that, but it wasn't about the trophy. It was about going toe to toe with the best team in the world, I reckon, because I think they're going to win the world trophy when that comes about and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, they just won the treble. This team's just won the treble. Everybody expects them to win every single game. What I see yesterday, though, was a team that normally roll over teams. They couldn't roll us over. They tried, they huffed and puffed, and they found it difficult, like we found it difficult for them. That's what I enjoyed about it. And when people say about the Community Shield, if it's not important, why is there 80,000 fans at Wembley, and why are they charging you for it, and why are we paying to go? You know, I've always.
And why did Pep Guardiola want to win it so bad?
Yeah. Yeah, of course, because you know that he can do things for that. Listen, I remember like in 91, Kev knows it. You know what I mean? He was there, but he shared it with Spurs. You know what I mean? Like it was a draw, and you know, so it's really about that. It's just about, you know, going to Wembley, enjoying what I think was, for a fan, for me. I'm going to say it now, right? What I've enjoyed about pre-season and enjoy about the Community Shield is that you get your fix of Arsenal and everything, all the things with it, but you ain't got that
stress.
Yeah, if it goes wrong or you lose and whatever, like, you know what I mean? Like, well, if you lose, you got like the safety net of, it's only a pre-season game. It's only a Community Shield. But when you win it, the safety net's gone. Like, yes, get in there, take it, like, you know what I mean? And that's what I really like about it. I thoroughly enjoy that day without the worry of thinking, we're going to lose and whatever, or we're going to win out. You know, I just think it's a lovely day for the fans. And listen, it's a privilege to be there, isn't it? Like, you know, because you can only get there if you win the FA Cup or the league, right? Or if some team wins a double, you come second, you know, the team that comes second. Now, through my lifetime, most of it, you know, no one was winning doubles. We weren't winning doubles, you know what I mean? So it was like the FA Cup winners and the title holders. Now, like, you know, like since all that, Arsenal have won the double, Manchester City have won a treble, Manchester United have won a double and a treble. You know, it was hard to do, but like, you know, I enjoy it. And listen, you telling me that Man City fans didn't want to win that yesterday? Of course they did.
Yes,
because you know why? They're winners. Yep. They're used to winning, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and that's what we've got to get, that mentality of it all, like, you know, we've got to get that mentality as well now, like, you know, winners. And we got a little bit of it yesterday.
Yeah, I love that. And you know what, Lee, they definitely want to win it, because one Kyle Campbell, who has come on this show with his
very quiet, Kyle.
With his blow-up Champions League trophy, all right? Oh, he's a little bit quiet. Couldn't hear crickets. Oh, but I let him have it on WhatsApp because many of you in the chat, I can see every single comment you guys are saying. Have you guys spoken to Kyle? Kev, what's Kyle saying? Let's just say Kyle's not saying much.
He won't speak to me. He won't speak to me. I can tell you that.
Oh, so good, Kev.
I remember when they won the league first, didn't he? And,
the league.
One down. You know what I mean? Like, 2 down. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and then 3 down. Like, give it large. You know what I mean? Like, and
big time.
You know, and quite rightly so. You know, but he's not been on socials much this last couple of days.
No, he's not. And you know where else he hasn't been? He usually pops into Monday Madness to say hello, and he's nowhere near to be seen. So yes, Chief Like Officer Tammy still saying he's in hiding. Squaddies, all of you in chat, thanks again for hanging out with us and watching. We're going to do some predictions at the very end, so do not go anywhere. We're going to get these hot takes from these two in terms of who they think is going to win everything. Okay, one other, yeah.
I've got a question just a quick question for you and Lee.
Love it.
Did Arteta get it right yesterday?
Allow our esteemed guest to answer, Mr. Judges.
Spot on. Thought he was spot on with everything, like, you know.
Because it was tactical, wasn't it? It was tactical at the start. Really tactical.
I think he looked at that. I think that he looked at it and thought, like, I'm not going to play Eddie because we're not going to have so much of the ball. So I need someone that when we do get the ball, is going to just come in there and just hold it up and play in that midfield slot and be comfortable with it. It may be that Eddie plays against Nottingham Forest. I don't know. I felt that he dealt with that really, really well. I felt that he looked at you could have played Tierney in that game, but I think that he put in Timber, but still had that little bit of threat from wider. What I really liked about the game, it didn't always happen all the time, but every single time Martinelli and Saka got the ball, their first thought was to attack the fullback, to try and take them on. Didn't work all the time, but that was what they were looking to do all the time. And I'm going to say this now, like, you know, I'm really, really Martinelli. The work rate that kid goes through. He gave the ball away once, and he chased it back. He does a lot of untold work in there, like, you know. At the end of the day, when he really doesn't get, he gets his goals as well, you know. So I just when he was tiring, that's when he made the substitutions. I know the goal didn't happen, like, you know what I mean, but we messed up straight from there. But I thought he got the. And look, they all made an impact. They all made an impact. You know, Trossard got the goal, and I thought that, you know, Eddie, as Kevin said, stretched them and all that, like, you know. And Havertz, by the way, then went into midfield and then come off just to fresh leg things, like, you know. So listen, I think that we can. I think that Mikel today, I mean, like, he got it spot on against him, like, and you know, it doesn't get the credit that time. If something goes wrong,
Lee, and also he changed the system.
Yeah,
he went 3 at the back, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
5 in mid and 2 up. He changed the system. So
last 5 minutes, he did. Yeah,
Ben White, Saliba, and Tierney, wasn't it?
Tierney come on and just played like left centre for free. Yeah, brilliant.
Do you know what I found really interesting? Yeah. And I think Wesbird's just saying it, Kev, in chat. This was a very mature performance from the Arsenal, and. You know, I don't think the preseason in the US was great. I do think there's a reason behind that. And I'm happy you asked this question, Super Kev, because Mikel used it as he should, experimenting every single game, different combinations. And I know Arsenal fans kept wanting, why isn't he playing our best 11? Why isn't he playing our best 11? Well, you saw all of that preparation in the US came to this game. And the way he managed the game, the starting 11, his substitutions, the timing of the substitutions, but the maturity, and also DJ Sassin saying the calmness in the group. Even when we went down, there was no panic. They just kept grafting and playing, and they believed. I really believe in the game last season. I'm not sure the team believed they could beat City. I think they let themselves down mentally. And you look, they were a juggernaut at that point when we faced them. But Kev, there was this whole other level of maturity and calmness. We saw it last season after failing to qualify for the Champions League, how they bounced back mentally. They losing players towards the end of last season, players lost their confidence, not being able to play around with the same players. I think that affected players mentally. But now I think with him learning as a manager that he's got to manage a squad, and players also understanding that if our man goes down, we got to figure it out. Just felt like a very mature performance yesterday.
I think it was, and I also think that there's more of a understanding of what the manager wants now from the playing staff. They know this is the ultimate test against Man City, because everything's got to be geared to topple Man City. If you topple Man City, you win the league. That's it now. If you better Man City and all their results, you win the league, because they're going to be favourites. Of course they are, because they've done it, 3-4 times in a row now? 3 times in a row. The key is, can Arsenal get in there and make a difference? You know, you sign 3 players, you spend over 200 million quid, you go in and you play Man City, and if you lose, and you lose to a small margin, it's still, as Lee quite rightly put it earlier, we've lost again.
Yeah.
The key was not to lose and to win, to beat them, to let the players feel that feeling. We've beaten. Whether we like it or not, there's a trophy up there to collect. And Manchester City have been so dominant. We've taken it. So the belief in the group now, I think, is at an all-time high. All-time high. Got to take that into the season, and we've got to have everybody on it now. And you know what? No matter about whoever plays, just get behind the team, because the bench is going to play a huge difference for us moving forward this season.
Totally agree with that. 530 of you in live chat right now. Kiss, nut, butt that like button for us if you can. Okay, before we get to your predictions real quick, have to ask you this question. There are 2 players who Arsenal fans have been waxing lyrical about. You mentioned them at the top of the show, but I wanted to just swing back because so many in chat are asking about them. And have these 2 players, let me ask about this one first. Has Jurrien Timber proven already that he should be starting in this 11, Lee?
On his performances, yes, but he's still got to budge Ben White and Zinchenko. At the moment, he's starting because, you know, Zinchenko's out. But let's not sleep on what Zinchenko can do as well. That's, you know, he's very, very important and pivotal to what we do. I think, again, though, when we're playing different teams, Timber will play. I think that when we go away in Europe, when we, you know, like don't want to be as open, and probably even maybe against the top teams, I think Timber may let. Do you know why? Because I think what I'm seeing at the moment looks a better defender. So I think that maybe on that. But I look at Partey and Rice, even though we spent 100 million on him, he's not guaranteed. I don't think that Havertz is. I don't think any of them are guaranteed. If I was to say that there's 2 or 3, you know, like 2 weeks ago, guys, we'd have said Ramsdale's guaranteed. We're not saying that now, like, you know what I mean? So, you know, like, I think Saliba is guaranteed, Saka. But other than that, you know, Martinelli was our top goal scorer last season. I don't think you could turn around and say, yeah, he's nailed on. And do you know what? That's how it should be.
It's music to my ears, what you're saying there, Mr. Judges. Super Kev, has he worked his way into the starting 11 for you yet?
I think he will start solely because Zinchenko's injured. But I think he brings a tenacity at fullback that we don't really have. Tierney's got it, but I don't think Tierney knows how to quite do that inverted position yet. Because I'll tell you something. There was one stage, I don't know if you noticed this yesterday, guys. Timber Timber won the ball from the back. He's travelled up. He's passed it inside, and he's ended up on the edge of the box.
Yeah.
Attacking. It broke down, and he gets himself back. I think he adds an athleticism and a different way of looking at how a fullback plays. I just think he's got some qualities that Zinchenko and Tierney don't have. So I think he has played his way into the first 11. And you know what? There's going to be times where he doesn't play. There's going to be times where he probably relieves Ben White, or there's times where he's sitting on the bench. But I think we've signed an absolute star in Timber, honestly.
And the club knew it too.
I think he's going to be a sensational player.
Yeah, Kev, the club know it too, because like I said off the record, they're very excited about him at the Arsenal. Very. And Declan stole all the headlines, and rightly so. He's a world record signing. However, they're very excited about Timber. And I like how Timber kind of has gone under the radar. He's signing and everything. This guy is going to be a cult hero instantly, I think. Okay, real quick, I want to get your take as well, Mr. Judges and Mr. Super Kevin Campbell. Is Trossard going to be the super sub? Do you think he'll accept this role? Do you think that's what Mikel wants for him? And is it a case similarly to Emile Smith-Rowe when he got 10 goals off the bench before he went out injured that season? Lee, what's your take? Trossard, a player that Arsenal fans absolutely love.
Listen, I'm a big fan of his. I really do like him and all that. But if you're saying to me, where does he play? You're leaving Martinelli out, or you're leaving Saka out? That's the thing that we've got. That's the dilemma. But that's what you need at the top. I think a year ago, 2 years ago, you think, oh well, he walked straight in the side. But what he will do is he'll put pressure on those players to do well. Look at Martinelli's performances since. I looked at the Barcelona game and thinking, oh, Martinelli ain't going to come in. He's played the next two, and I'm thinking, oh, Martinelli, well done. So I think that's what he's going to do. I think that front four, he can play in a couple of different positions. I think he'll get his games where he'll be happy. But if I was going to play a Champions League final, let's hope that we are, would you say Trossard would start? I'd say, I've got no argument with that. But in place of who is where I would argue.
Kev, are you on the same page with Lee on this one?
Yeah, look, I think Trossard is a Swiss Army knife for us. He maybe not start. He'll get his game time because there's enough games to play him, and he's pretty versatile. But I think he's our Swiss Army knife because whenever we're playing a game and we need somebody to plan B it, to come on and make a difference, I think he can come on. His close control is so good. He came on yesterday and made a difference against Man City. If he can come on and do that against Manchester City, we've got to trust Mikel Arteta and Trossard to come on against anybody or to start against anybody. I think he's going to get double figures this season. I really do. I think he's improved as a player being at Arsenal. And you know what? I just love the guy, man. I really do. I think he's a really, really top player.
He is a top player. All right, we've got 10 minutes left. Let's do the fun stuff right here. The moment you've all been waiting for, predictions. All right. We're going to check these at the end of the season. We're also going to get some of our other podcaster favorites to join in with us. So tonight we kick off. I've got a few categories. We're going to do this a little bit quick fire because we've got to get Lee off. He's got a show at 9 o'clock on your channel tonight, right, Mr. Judges?
Yeah.
Okay.
The boys are back. We've got Dan Potts, Harry, Simu, and Graham back in. We're looking forward to it.
I love it. Tune into the same old Gooners on Lee Judges TV at 9 o'clock. But before he goes, here's what we're going to do. Right, let's do the quick ones first. Super Kev, who's going to win the League Cup this year?
Oof, League Cup. I'm going for Arsenal. I'm going for Arsenal to win the League Cup.
All right.
There you go.
Lee, who are you going for?
Man City.
Me too, on Man City. I think they just put their name on it. Bloody, they love to win that. Right, Super Kev, who have you got for the FA Cup?
Arsenal.
Here we go, everyone. Let the chat set on fire. Here we go. Super Kev. Mr. Judges, who you got?
Newcastle.
Ooh. All right, here's my one. You're not going to like this, kids. Harry Kane leaves Tottenham, and the minute he leaves Tottenham, they win the FA Cup and a domestic trophy. There, I said it out loud. My apologies. Super Kev, who is going to win the Champions League? Don't do it, Kev. Okay. Lee.
I'm going to go, and I'm hoping this is true, like, you know, because it's at Wembley. We're a very, very good record at Wembley. If we can get our way through, never know, like, I'm going to go for the Arsenal.
All right. I'm going to pick Manchester City to repeat the Champions League this coming season. Super Kev, who is going to win the Premier League?
I've got to say Man City. I have to, solely because they've just been so dominant. But obviously, I want us to win it. I'll trade one of them cups I'll trade both of them for a Premier League if you don't mind. But I think Man City. I do.
Lee Judges, is it our year? Is this going to be the time? Is the parade in North London going to just scream red?
I want one of them. I want either the Premier League or the Champions League. I think it'd be lovely. I just think watching Manchester City yesterday, they've just still got the edge. So I'm going Man City.
I'm going to do it, kids. I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to go for the Arsenal. I think we've got the depth. I think we've got the belief. And City are going through a bit of a transitional year. Here, I said it out loud. Everyone's going to come at me with pelters, but they are. They've lost a lot of players. Liverpool are going to be strong. Liverpool going to be strong. I'm going for the Arsenal to win the Premier League. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Get your salt out, everybody. All right, a couple of quick fire ones in terms of us. Okay, who will be Arsenal's top scorer this season, Super Kev?
Ooh. Top scorer, I'm going to go with Saka.
Lee?
Martinelli.
Martinelli, Saka. You know, I'm going to go with Saka as well. I'm going to go with Saka. Who will have the most assists, Super Kev?
Odegaard.
Lee?
Odegaard.
I'm going to go with Odegaard as well. That was a bit of an easy one. Who do you think will be Arsenal's player of the season?
Saliba.
Lee?
Saliba.
Oi! Is there an echo in here?
I'm going to go with Odegaard. I want Odegaard to have one of those seasons where everyone just once again is like, man, we thought he was good last season. How did we let every team to say, how did Arsenal get him for 35 million for Real Madrid? I want him to be the conductor. I want him to be the orchestra. I want him to just do it all. I want Odegaard to shine. Okay, here's one for you. We'll get you out on this. Who do you think Arsenal's surprise player of the season will be, Super Kev?
Timber.
They're getting in there first every time. Like, yeah,
come on. He don't want to say it. He don't want to say it, does he?
Ben White. Yeah, I'm going to go Ben White.
Whoa, a twist there. Boy, a bigger twist than the end of
hold on.
Shyamalan's
A surprise.
Yes, surprise.
Ben White, a surprise. He's just changed the name.
I got Tim. I would have said Tim, but I'll tell you what I will say. Really, off the scale, Vieira. I'll go Vieira.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I like that. I
think he's made a fantastic comeback since that Man United penalty miss. I think, you know, he's done well. And I'll tell you what, he come on and done well yesterday. Yeah, he did, and he come on and done well yesterday. I'll say that now.
I think
I'm going to change Vieira. Okay,
that's a good one. I think there'll be a moment in the season where we're going to need a Emile Smith Rowe. My Greek Coffee Cup says Emil Smith-Rowe.
I like that one as well.
Yep, I think that he
Better than Timber.
better than Timber. I'm going for Emil Smith-Rowe. Okay, that's all we've got time for today. What a brilliant way to end. Predictions, very good. A little bit of a mixed bag. According to Super Kevin Campbell, we are doing the domestic cup double this season.
Again. Why not?
Again.
Like that.
We'll take that. Final thoughts, Mr. Judges. What do you want to say to the squaddies before you duck out this evening?
No, listen, look, I would like to say to the squaddies, thank you for supporting this fantastic podcast. You do a fantastic job. I love all the interaction that the guys do on here, and everybody gets involved, and I love it. The whole little. So keep it up, keep following this fantastic podcast, because it is not because I'm biased. It's one of the best out there.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Lee.
Today, the squaddies are spoiled. Today, I couldn't put their comments up, but they forgive me. There's 550 odd of them, and thank you for tuning in. I'm going to allow Super Kev to have the last word, but before I do, we will be back. The Women's World Cup has been absolutely unbelievable. I've been traveling a lot this summer. The time difference has been crazy, so it's been really hard to do shows, but we're going to get stuck into it this Wednesday with Demian, so look out for that. We got Super Kyle Campbell coming up on Friday as well. Nick Ramsdale will be back.
Into that.
Nick Ramsdale will be back as well next week. We're going to have Paul Buckle on as well, talking about the championship stuff. It's going to be a mixed bag of brilliant content with myself and the legend that is Super Kevin Campbell. He's going to be very busy again this season because Everton and Nottingham Forest survived relegation. So Super Kev, it's already getting a bit mad for you, isn't it?
It's getting manic. It is getting manic. But, I love it. I love, all these clubs. But, you know who I want to win it all? I want the Arsenal to win it all. You know that. Listen. Lee, thanks for coming on and joining us.
Always a pleasure.
Squaddies,
Always a pleasure.
do the honourable thing. Do the honourable thing. Jump over to Lee Judges TV to keep the chat going. Him and Potsy, and I don't know who else might be on there, Lee, but I'm sure it's going to be really interesting, some of the chat. Hostess with the mostest, who's away in Idaho. She's got loads of things to do. Dodgy internet, but she still gets the show going. And to you, squaddies, listen, we came, we saw, and we conquered Man City. Do you believe? We believe it can happen. We want it to happen. So, squaddies, let's make sure we broke the neck this season and bring it home. Look after yourselves and enjoy the rest of your week. Season starts on Saturday. At ease, squaddies, at ease.
Just to warn everyone, it's going to be a rough outro as well. See you soon.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of